Hey guys, I'm Deepti Desikan and in this video I'm going to be swatching 100 nude lipsticks. I'm pretty sure I swatched more than 100, but we'll see how the output of it has turned out. The reason I do this is because I want as many lipsticks to be in one video. It should be concise, and if you can watch it all in one, it would be of great help. And I will try to insert timestamps as well, because you can just like skip to the swatches. And the reason I'm doing this at a time where there's short format content is doing way better is I feel like this way you just get the swatches of everything in one. Sometimes I also add mini reviews to this. I can't really add a detailed in-depth review because the video would get really long, and also I'm getting impatient because I'm swatching quite a few of this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. And also before we start off with this video, I just want to give you a quick disclaimer. This is filmed in natural light. I have no control over the lighting. It is getting a little bit bright, it is getting a little bit dark, so that is one thing. And also nude lipsticks are very subjective, so that's the reason I have split it as light, medium, and medium tan and tan skin tones as well. So what is a nude for me is not a nude for someone of a lighter skin tone. So yeah, that is one thing. And also I'm not just including just like pale nude shades, pale brown nude shades. So there's different undertones to nude as well, and this way it would be a lot more different and inclusive, so you can try to find what works out for your skin tone, your preference the best. So I like to wear like a lot deeper nude shades on my skin tone, especially without makeup. The whole point of this video is that you get to choose your perfect nude shade, something that you can wear without makeup as well. And I know you can pull off any nude shade with a deeper lip liner, mix and match and all of that, but if you had to buy just one shade and something that has to work out for you, maybe this video would help you out. So yeah, there won't be any hand swatches, you guys. I'm really sorry, but this is like a lot of lipsticks and it's really hard to do the hand swatch, and editing those hand swatch parts also get really hard, and it gets a little bit tedious, and then I lose interest because it's a longer video to edit. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to mention. So if you have some absolute favorite nude shades, and I haven't included that in this video, I have also done 100 nude lipsticks previously, so that's linked right here. That was one of the times in my channel where I wanted to experiment, bring about some different content, and I was getting really bored with the content I was watching online as well, and I was like, okay, why not do something different and challenge myself as well. So that's the reason I first came up with that, and I was very glad with the reception and the way that video performed. So yeah, I'm not sure if this video would perform like that because of the way the algorithm works, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this. Let's get to the swatches. Now firstly, we'll be talking about nude lipsticks for light skin tone, maybe like really pale to light skin. So the first one we have is Huda Beauty Girls Trip. This is straight up concealer shade on my lips. It is something that would not flatter people who have pigmented lips. Next up we have the Smashbox liquid lipstick in the shade Audition. Now this is a very pale shade which looks like concealer on my lips, and I think even if you have light and light medium skin tone, you still need to use a lip liner underneath this because it might wash you out even, and I'm not sure which kind of skin tone can actually pull this off. Maybe very pale skin. Next up we have the Nykaa Demi Matte Lip Cream, and this one is in the shade On Fleek. Again, a very subtle pale peachy shade. Next up we have the MAC Retro Matte Liquid Lip Color. This one is in the shade Burnt Spice, which is a very popular shade. Looks straight up like concealer on my lips, but you know what I'm going to be mentioning, right? Next up we have the e.l.f. liquid lipstick in the shade Blushing Rose. Makes you almost look very dead. So irrespective of your skin tone, I would suggest using a darker lip liner underneath this, more pink, maybe more brown. Next up from Huda Beauty, I have the shade called Interview, which is a greyish nude but a pale nude for my skin tone. This is definitely for someone of a much lighter skin tone than I am. We are going to be talking about nude lipsticks for light and light medium skin tone. First one we have is the Plum lipstick, and this one is in the shade High Tea. This is a cool tone nude shade, and this would work for people of medium skin tone as well, but I feel like it looks a lot better on people of light and light medium skin tones, and that's the reason I included this in this category. So this has a comfortable matte finish, and it has a decent wear time, just like any other bullet lipstick would. The next one we have is MAC Meher, which is a rosy cool toned shade, again with a little bit of purple hints to it. I feel like this again flatters people of a lighter skin tone, and for people of medium and medium tan skin tones, it's not the most flattering shade in my opinion. Of course, you can wear any of these shades with a lip liner, mix and match, but I would suggest this for people of light and light medium skin tone to wear it even without makeup. Next up we have the Smashbox liquid lipstick in the shade Gulabi, a very popular shade. I particularly don't quite like it on my skin tone, and I feel like it washes me out most of the times, but I can see the shade looks so beautiful on people of course, a lighter skin tone than I am, and that's the reason I included it in this category. Next up, I have Kiro liquid lipstick, and this one is in the shade Nude Mocha. Look really nice on the skin tone I am referring this to, and this formulation is really nice. It's very comfortable, and even though it's like a sort of like a brighter peach shade, it's not patchy on the lips at all, and it's very comfortable on the lips as well. Next up, also from Kiro, I have their liquid lipstick in the shade Nude Lily, which is a cool toned mauve nude shade. And yeah, I can see this work for people with not so much stark dark pigmentation on their lips. This could be your everyday nude shade, and it wouldn't look too bright, and it's not too cool toned as well, so you can pull this off without looking too dull. Next up, we have the Kiro liquid lipstick in the shade Sandy Rose, which is a little bit more brighter than the previous shade that I showed you. And if you feel like that is a little too cool tone for you, you can try this out. Once you let it dry down, it's a beautiful nude pink shade. Next up, we have MAC Mocha, and this is a very popular shade. It's a peachy nude kind of a shade, and definitely popular among the masses. However, it's not my personal favorite. This one from Kiro, we have the shade called Peachy Nude, which is exactly that. It is a peachy nude shade. I find like out of all of the shades, just this one goes on a little bit patchy, and the natural pigmentation of my lips does peek through. It's a very like pale peachy nude shade. Next up, I have the Bellora liquid lipstick in the shade Nudie Mystery. Now this would work for light, medium and medium skin tones as well. It's not just for a certain skin tone category, but this is a beautiful shade, and the formula of these Bellora liquid lipsticks are quite comfortable on the lips. They're not the most comfortable, but they're not very drying compared to a lot of other liquid lipsticks in the market. This is a really nice brown toned nude shade. Next up, we have the Plum liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Insta Sister. It is a bright peachy shade, and it looks a lot brighter on my skin tones. It would look a lot more mellow on you if you are of a lighter skin tone than I am. The next shade I have is called Espresso Martini from Love Earth, and this one is their mousse liquid lipstick. So it has that moussey formula. It's very comfortable and pigmented on the lips. It's not the most long lasting, but it's very comfortable on the lips in case you're looking for that. This shade has a little bit of peach and brown hints to it, and it looks beautiful on the lips. Next up, I have the Lakme liquid lipstick in the shade Nude Myth. This is again a peachy nude shade, and most of these peachy shades are a little bit patchy, so just keep that in mind. I know a lot of people like peachy nudes, and that's the reason I'm even swatching all of this. Next up, I have also from Lakme. This one is in the shade Nude Hue, and this is a more cool toned pale nude shade with subtle pink hints to it. Next up, I have the Lakme Absolute Matte Melt liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Nude Umbrella. This is one of my favorite formula. It's very nice, comfortable and long wearing. This is, I feel like, again a subtle nude pink shade, and it's quite similar to Smashbox Gulabe. Next up, I have the Simplynam liquid lipstick in the shade Munna. This shade again would work up until medium skin tone. It's just not a very pigmented liquid lipstick, so I'm not a very big fan of the formulation either. I'm just swatching the shade for you guys. Next up, I have the K-Beauty lipstick. This one is in the shade Snapshot. Again, a cool toned nude shade, and would work for people of lighter skin tones for sure. I don't think you should try this if you have medium skin tone and want to wear it without makeup. Next up, I have the MAC lipstick in the shade Velvet Teddy, and this is a very popular shade. This is a very subtle nude with slight peach brown hints to it as well. Next up, we have the MAC lipstick in the shade Creme in Your Coffee. This is a cream sheen lipstick, so it's not the most pigmented lipstick. This is a kind of cool tone nude shade and can be pulled off up until medium skin tone, and it's not the most pigmented, so the natural pigmentation of my lips does peek through. Next up, I have the shade called Clay Crush from Maybelline. This one is their creamy matte lipstick, and this is again a very pale peachy nude shade. Next up, we have the Bobbi Brown Crushed Liquid Lip, and this one is in the shade Juicy Date. This is a formula that doesn't dry down completely matte, and it's not the most pigmented formulation. Next up, we have the Too Faced liquid lipstick in the shade Sellout. This looks really nice. I've seen this look really nice on a lot of different skin tones, but it's certainly not for me, and I cannot pull this one off without a darker lip liner underneath. Next up, I have the Kiro Lush Moist Matte Lipstick. This one is in the shade Lotus Dew, which is a very subtle pink nude shade. The formula of these lipsticks are amazing, and it's very long lasting. You wouldn't believe it's a bullet lipstick. It's actually very comfortable on the lips as well, and it doesn't dry your lips out. You can wear it throughout the day, and the shade selection in this range is amazing. Next up, also from Kiro, we have the shade called Dusky Peach, which is a brighter, warmer peach shade, like a deeper peach shade, and it looks beautiful on the lips. Next up, we have the Faces Canada Lip Crayon. This one is in the shade Cashmere, which is a beautiful peachy nude. It also has a subtle brown hints to it, and this can be worn by people up to medium skin tones. I think it wouldn't like completely wash you out, but I feel like it's a little like too subtle for my liking. Next up from Colorbar, we have the shade called Leap. This is again a peachy brown nude. Next we have the Mars lip crayon, and this one is in the shade Smile Please. This is a very popular shade from this lip crayon range, and I'm actually out of words to describe this. As you guys can see how it looks. Next up I have the Mars lip crayon, and this one is in the shade I Am Cute. This is a greige shade, and this would work for anyone who actually likes this kind of shade. Otherwise you can skip on this one completely. Next up we have the Nykaa So Creme lipstick, and this one is in the shade Your Latte. This can work up to medium skin tones again, and this would work like a My Lip but better kind of a shade. But these are not the most pigmented, and they are kind of rigid in the tube as well. Next up we have the shade called Wake Up Makeup, which is a subtle brown nude shade. Again, not the most pigmented. So the next one we have is the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in the shade Pillow Talk, and this doesn't work for my skin tone at all. It's not at all pigmented, and these lipsticks are pretty sheer on their own, and you pay quite a lot for this. So next up I'm going to be swatching some nude shades for people with medium skin tone. There are a lot of like my perfect nude shades in this. The first shade we have is the Shiseido lipstick in the shade Murmur. This is a little bit of a cool tone nude shade for my skin tone, and this is something I can wear without makeup. Next up we have the MAC lipstick in the shade Whirl, which is again a beautiful cool tone nude shade, and this would look nice on so many different skin tones. I've seen a lot of people really love this. Of course, if you're lighter than me, this looks a lot more deeper. The next shade we have is called MAC Taupe, and this is a very muted taupe shade. I particularly don't prefer wearing this without like a full face of makeup on, so it depends on your personal preference. Next up I have the Blue Heaven lipstick in the shade Chocolate Swirl. I've got a lot of you guys hooked onto this. It's a beautiful formulation, very affordable lipstick, and look at this shade. It's very, very similar to Give Me Mocha in a bullet lipstick form. So it has a little bit of red, pink and everything to it. So this looks really nice. It's not very muted, and it wouldn't pull you down, make you look sick. So this is something you can wear without makeup as well. Next up I have the Huda Beauty lipstick. This one is in the shade Trendsetter. This is their newer shade and formulation. So this is a little bit more cool toned than the previous shade, and this is like a very subtle nude shade for my skin tone. And if you're like, okay Deepthi, where is that perfect nude shade for my lips? Maybe this is the one for you if you like these kind of like subtle nude shades. Next up we have the Revlon Super Lustrous Matte Lipstick, and this one is in the shade Shameless. Now this is a very, very close dupe to the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in the shade Pillow Talk Medium. Just that the Charlotte Tilbury one is a little bit more cool toned than this. This has a little bit more pink to it. So it's a lot more wearable shade, and it doesn't like wash you out. So if you don't really like that, you can try this out, and it's literally like less than half the price of the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick. I have the Maybelline Sensational Matte Liquid Lipstick, and this one is in the shade Nude Nuance. This is a lot different compared to the bullet lipstick in Nude Nuance. This is not as cool toned as that, and this has a little bit more of a pink brown undertone to it. So this is also a really nice shade for medium skin tones. Next up I have the MAC Powder Kiss Velvet Blur lipstick. This one is in the shade Over the Taupe. This is a very subtle nude shade for me, and this is not the most pigmented formulation, but it's also quite comfortable on the lips. Next up I have the Maybelline lipstick. This one is in the shade More Taupe. This is a little bit more brown toned and brighter than the previous shade that I showed from MAC, and I absolutely love this shade on my skin tone. And I also really like the formulation of these lipsticks. They are super comfortable, very pigmented, and look like high-end lipsticks on the lips. Next one we have is from Mamaearth. This one is their Moisture Matte lipstick. This is in the shade Espresso Brown, and this is a beautiful mauve brown shade, and it's not very pigmented, but it's super comfortable on the lips, and this is something you can wear on a daily basis, and you can see it's just like a shade or two darker than my natural lip color. Next up we have the Kiro liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Cinnamon Nude. This is a very cool toned nude shade. It has little brown hints to it as well. So do not consider this wearing without a makeup, but if you have like a smoky eye and all of that, and you want your lips to be muted and cool toned, you can try this shade out. The next one we have is K-Beauty matte lipstick in the shade Thriller. This is, you can see it look almost meshes with my natural lip color, maybe a little bit more brown and a little bit more cool toned. But yeah, if you're looking for something like this, of course you can try it out. Don't expect these lipsticks to be super pigmented. If you have naturally pigmented lips, these shades are not very pigmented, especially like the lighter shades, the nude shades. Next up, also from Kiro, we have the shade called Nude Rose, and the name describes the shade. It's a very muted pink toned nude shade. So next one we have is from Bobbi Brown. This one is their crushed liquid lip color. This one is in the shade Hot Cocoa. This is not a matte formulation. It has a lot of sheen to it, so it's not very long lasting, and it's also not very pigmented. So you're spending a lot of money on this. Just keep that in mind. Like, it's comfortable on the lips. It feels really nice and lightweight, like butter on the lips, but it's not long lasting. Next up from Maybelline Creamy Mattes, we have the shade called Touch of Nude. This is like a pink shade, like a very subtle pink shade, so it depends on your preference. I don't personally prefer this, even though it's called Touch of Nude. I don't personally like prefer this to be a nude shade on my lips, because I also feel like it's a little bit bright. Next up, I have the shade from Huda Beauty, which is called Graduation Day. So this formulation is really nice and soft, creamy, matte. Next up, I have the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in the shade Pillow Talk Medium, which is for medium skin tone, and sometimes it looks really nice on my lips and sometimes it just washes me out, even though it is for medium skin tone. So it depends on my pigmentation around my mouth. It depends on, I don't know, a lot of criteria, but it's not the most pigmented lipstick, and especially for the price you pay. Next up, we have the Faces Canada All-Time Pro Lip Crayon, and this one is in the shade Spiced Latte, which is a really nice nude shade for people of medium skin tones as well. And I think if you are anywhere deeper than my skin tone, it might wash you out, but I really like the formulation of these lip crayons. It's super pigmented and quite comfortable and long lasting on the lips. Next up, I have the Swiss Beauty lipstick, and this one is in the shade Spice Nude, which was, I think, a newer shade, and I somehow thought this would suit people of lighter skin tone and not me, but I absolutely love this on my skin tone as well. It's such a nice greige nude shade, and I absolutely love it. Next up, I have the shade called Cave In from Colorbar, which is a very nice like orangish brown shade for my skin tone. I absolutely love this shade, and this is something I can wear without makeup as well. And these Colorbar lip crayons are again really nice, creamy and pigmented. The shade I have is the MAC Powder Kiss liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Over the Top again, and this is a beautiful shade. The formulation of this is not completely matte. It's not transfer proof, but they feel really nice and moussey and lightweight on the lips. They are pretty pigmented as well, and this is such a nice brown toned nude shade for my lips. Next up we have is a very popular shade. This is a Jeffree Star liquid lipstick in the shade Androgyny. This is a very like mauvey purple kind of a shade. It's very muted on my lips. I have seen this on people of much lighter skin tones and it looks really dark and grungy, but for me it's like a very muted shade. Next up, I have the Colorbar liquid lipstick in the shade Hot Latte. Now, this is a shade that a friend of mine actually inspired me to get, and she's of a much deeper skin tone than I am, and it looked so beautiful on her, so I decided to include it in this swatch as well. Next up, from Daily Forever 52, we have the shade called Hanna, which is a perfect nude for people of medium skin tones. Again, I love the formulation of these lip crayons. They're very pigmented, long-lasting, and comfortable on the lips. Next up, I have the Miss Claire Matte Power lip color. This one is in the shade number 02. This is a muted pink nude shade for my skin tone, as you guys can see. I really like the formulation of these liquid lipsticks. They're not the most pigmented, but they're also like not very sheer, and it's not like you have to build on it too much, and it's not very drying on the lips as well. So you can try it out, but they're not as comfortable as their soft matte lip cream. Just keep that in mind. Next up, I have the Simplynam liquid lipstick. This is the shade Hanna, which is a mauve shade, and this again works really well as a nude shade for my skin tone. Next up, I have the Colorbar lip crayon. This one is in the shade Outrage, which is a very beautiful muted pink shade. Now, I don't know what else to describe. All of these shades will start looking very similar, and also please excuse the light because the sun is going in and out and it's getting a little bit orange, as I can see. Next up, from Miss Claire, we have the Matte Power lip color in the shade 06. This is a very subtle peachy orangish kind of a shade, and not your typical nude, but if you wanted something of this color family that is very muted, you can try this out. Next up, I have the L'Oreal liquid lipstick. This is in the shade I Lose Up, and this is a very peachy pinkish kind of a nude shade on my lips. These are not very pigmented liquid lipsticks. They are a little bit runny, but they are super long lasting on the lips, and I absolutely love the formulation of this. They are also quite comfortable. They're not very drying. Next up, I have the Too Faced Melted Matte liquid lipstick. This is in the shade Making Moves. I absolutely love this shade. It's a very like orangish brown kind of a shade, very muted on the lips, and I like to wear this with a full face of makeup on. I don't like to wear this without makeup. I feel like it is a little bit too dull looking. Next up, I have the MAC Powder Kiss liquid lip color. This one is in the shade Impulsive, and it's again that kind of like orangish kind of a shade, and this is for people who like these kind of shades, don't like very usual brown nudes, pink nudes. You can try this, it's a lot more muted. Next one from Eba, we have their liquid lipstick in the shade Caramel Nude. This again seems like a very cool toned nude shade and would look nice on people of up to like medium skin tones. I feel like medium tan, maybe if you have a deeper lip line underneath or just outline your lips, it would work out. And then I also have the Revlon lipstick. This one is the Super Lustrous lipstick and this is in the shade Rum Raisin. This is a nice shade, like a nice terracotta reddish shade with a little pink undertones to it as well. You can see how it looks on my lips. These are not the most pigmented lipsticks, but they feel nice and creamy and glossy on the lips. So the next lipstick we have is Mamaearth Carnation Nude. This was requested for me to try out. It's not as glossy looking like it is on my lips right now. That's because I have a lip balm underneath. My lips are super dry. So yeah, it's a beautiful pink toned nude shade and it is something I can wear without makeup as well. Like right now I have very minimal makeup on and I can wear this without makeup. Next up, I have the Insight 24-Hour Lipstick and this is in the shade Stay Basic. It's a very nice cool toned nude shade for my lips, as you guys can see. And the formulation of this is quite long wearing. It is matte and doesn't transfer as much. But if you were to sip or slurp something, it does fade away from the center of the lips. Next up, I have the Kiro lipstick. This is in the shade Ginger Tea, which is a little bit of a peachy toned shade, peachy pink shade. And it's not exactly like a pale nude or a subtle nude on my lips. But this is how the shade looks like. Next up I have the e.l.f. liquid lipstick. This is the shade Praline. Now this is a very cool tone nude shade and it's very subtle for my skin tone. I prefer wearing this with a full face of makeup on, especially if I have like a cool toned makeup look. But if you are of a lighter skin tone than I am, it looks a lot more deeper and grungy on your lips. Next up I have the Insight 24 Hours lipstick and this is in the shade Moody, which is a very subtle pink toned nude shade, and I feel like this would look a lot better on you, like without makeup, if you are of a much lighter skin tone than I am. I'm talking about this in that perspective is because not everyone wears makeup every single day and you don't want a lipstick shade to wash you out and make you look sick. Next up I have the Lakme Cushion Matte lipstick. I'm not very sure of the name of this. I will leave it on the screen right here. This is not a matte lipstick formulation. It's more like a satin sheer lipstick. It's not as pigmented, but this is a very cool toned shade. Next up we have the Daily Forever 52 lip crayon in the shade Petunia. This is a nice warm terracotta nude shade for my skin tone and I absolutely love this. Next up we have the Plum liquid lipstick. This is in the shade Grape Expectations. It is a little bit of a purplish greige kind of a shade and it looks really nice and would go really well with a lot of cool toned eye makeup. Next up we're going to be moving on to my favorite category, that is medium tan and deeper skin tones. I absolutely love the shades I have for this particular skin tone and most of these shades I still wear it as well. I call it a nude for myself, but when I do that I do get a lot of comments saying that that's not a nude for your skin tone. So anyways, I like these kind of deeper nude shades on my skin tone. And the first one I have is the Swiss Beauty lipstick in the shade Bronze. Do I have to mention this anymore? Such a beautiful formulation and the shade is beautiful. I have bought a backup of this lipstick. This is the only lipstick I've bought a backup of because that's how much I love it. That's how much I've used it and it just looks beautiful. It has a little bit of like a dusty burgundy mauve hints to it. It's a very unique shade, a little bit hard to dupe as well, but looks amazing. Next up we're going to be swatching the Lakme Absolute Matte Melt Mini Liquid Lip Color and this is in the shade Brown Souvenir. You guys can see it's a little bit of a brownish red shade and it looks really nice on people of medium tan skin tones and even deeper skin tones without makeup. And the formula of this is a little bit runny. Give it some time for it to dry down completely on your lips, or you can even layer it on to get it to the pigmentation you desire. Next up I have this Plum lipstick in the shade Upside Brown. The formula of this feels really nice and lightweight on the lips and it's very comfortable as well. It's not the most pigmented matte lipsticks, but it's also not very drying. Next up I have the Blue Heaven lipstick and this is their Hyper Stay Super Matte lipstick. This is in the shade Molten Latte. I don't quite like the formula of this. It's extremely rigid and you have to tug and pull on your lips quite a bit for the pigment to show up, for the lipstick to like cover up your lips completely. But the shade is however beautiful. It has a little bit of a mauve, deep mauve hint to it. Next up I have the shade called Brandy Harrington, which is my which is a beautiful shade formulation, especially for the price. And just look at this. This would look so good on people of medium tan and deeper skin tones for sure. And if you feel like, you know, most of the lipsticks you've tried out have washed you out, like nude shades, definitely do check this out. And for the price, oh my god, they are amazing. Next up, we have the Daily Forever matte lipstick. This one is in the shade Versilla. This is a beautiful shade. I absolutely love this shade on me, and it's a little bit of a brown toned pink nude shade, and I absolutely love this on myself, and I think this would look good on people of medium tan skin tones as well. Next one we have is the Lakme Absolute Matte Melt Liquid Lip Color. This one is in the shade Mocha Short. Now this is a shade that would look good on people of medium and medium tan skin tones without makeup. Like if you have a lot of pigmentation on your lips and your lips seem a little bit more dark, you can wear this shade and it looks so good. It wouldn't wash you out at all. This is something I do wear on a regular basis. It is a little bit darker for me, but I prefer shades like this, and I call this a nude for my skin tone. But of course, if you're of like medium tan skin tones and deeper skin tones as well, this would look really nice on you. Next up, the next shade that I'm going to be swatching is Kiro Nude Garnet. This is a shade that I wear irrespective of if I feel sick, if I have no makeup on. It's just that lipstick that looks good irrespective of all of this and my mood. So it's also not a very muted nude shade, so you can wear this even if you have like medium tan skin tones. So you can definitely try this out. The formulation is so good, very comfortable, creamy, long lasting, and for a bullet lipstick, it is really nice. I mean, the lasting power, the pigmentation and everything. Next up, I have the shade called Warm Nutmeg, which is a little bit more of a warmer shade. This is more of a deep warm nude shade. Beautiful shade, and if you have makeup or not, it would look good, and especially if you have like a warm toned eye look, this would look really nice. Next up from Kiro, we have their liquid lipstick in the shade Nutmeg Nude. This is again a nice warm toned nude shade for my lips. I've worn this so many times and received so much of compliments every time I wear this shade. So I think this shade is beautiful for people of medium and medium tan skin tones. I'm not sure how it would look on someone of a much deeper skin tone. I haven't watched quite a lot of swatches on that, but I think it will still look really beautiful. I'm not very sure. Next up, we have the Daughter Earth liquid lipstick. This is in the shade Damsel in No Distress, and this is a very grungy nude kind of a shade. It has a little bit of brown, a little bit of grey undertones to it. I absolutely love this shade, but the formulation is such that it's a little bit moussey. It's not the most pigmented, but they feel really nice and comfortable on the lips. Given that it is very comfortable and moussey, it's not the most long-lasting liquid lipstick on my lips. Next up, we have the Colorbar lipstick in the shade Foreplay. I'm not sure if the shade is still available because a lot of shades from this range were discontinued, but just look at this beautiful deep mauve shade and absolutely love it on myself. Next up, we have the Swiss Beauty Lip Crayon. This one is in the shade Coffee. This is a little bit of a deeper shade for me. I don't call this to be a nude shade for my skin tone. It's beautiful, but it's not a nude shade. But for people of, I think, tan and deeper skin tones, I think it will look really nice. This has a little bit of greige, dusty burgundy undertone to it. It is a beautiful shade and the formulation is amazing as well. Next up, I have the MAC lipstick. This is in the shade Paramount. Look at this shade. It is so beautiful. I'm not sure if this is discontinued, but if you can get your hands on it, you should try this out. It is a unique shade. And the description of it, I will try to leave it right here on the screen from the MAC website. Next one we have is the Love Child Masaba liquid lipstick in the shade It Fits. Now this is a beautiful shade and it depends on your skin tone and your preference. It is a little bit grungy and cool toned as well. These liquid lipsticks, they are pigmented, but they are quite drying on the lips. Just keep that in mind, but I really like the shade selection that they have. Next up, we have the Love Earth Liquid Mousse lipstick, and this is in the shade Irish Coffee. It is not so much a brown, it's more of a pinkish mauve, deep mauve kind of a shade, but it's really nice and comfortable. The formulation, it is pigmented, and also it does take a little bit of a time to dry down on your lips, but it's really nice, and I feel like it's very lightweight on the lips. Next up, I have the K-Beauty lipstick. This is in the shade Cameo. This shade reminds me a lot of Chocolate Swirl by Blue Heaven. I feel like it's very similar to that. Next one, also from K-Beauty, we have the shade called Wrap Up, and I feel like this is an apt shade for people of medium tan skin tones. It has a little bit of red, it has a little bit of brightness to it, and it can be a little bit of a different shade from your usual nude shades. Next up, I have the Faces Comfy Matte lipstick, and this is in the shade Note to Self. This is a beautiful terracotta-ish shade, and I really like this even on my skin tone. I would recommend this for anyone who really like to try out out this shade. And also the formula of this is a little bit drying, just keep that in mind. Not a lot of people like it, even though the name suggests that it's a comfy matte lipstick. Not a lot of you guys find it to be comfortable from the feedback I have received. I, however, like it, and I find it to be very, very long wearing. Next up, from Love Child by Masaba, I have the shade called No Rules. This is again a cool toned brown shade. I feel like this would look like a very nice muted shade. I really like it on my skin tone as well. Next up, I have the Plum liquid lipstick in the shade Cocoa Mocha, and I've seen a lot of people with deeper skin tones absolutely love this. Look really nice without makeup. It is a little bit of a brownish red shade and looks really, really nice. You must definitely check this out. The formula of this is again pigmented but slightly drying, just for your information. Next up, from Faces, we have their Comfy Matte Pro liquid lipstick. This is in the shade Call Me Chocolate. I feel like this is more of a reddish version of the shade Note to Self. Again, the formula of this is a little bit thick and sticky and feels a little heavy on the lips. Not the most comfortable one, but I absolutely love this shade, and I can just imagine this on people of tan skin tones, how beautiful it would look, and it wouldn't wash you out at all. Next up, we have the MAC Love Me Liquid Lip Color. This one is in the shade Coffee and Cigs. This would work a lot better for people with pigmented lips, and it's of course a lot more pigmented than the Bobbi Brown liquid lip color itself. It's a very beautiful mauvey brown shade. Next, from Kiro, we have the lipstick in the shade Spicy Cinnamon. This is a beautiful warm brown shade, and this is a lipstick I use on a daily basis without makeup as well, but it is a little bit darker for me, and of course if you are medium tan and tan skin tones, I think this would look really nice and a little different from their usual nude shades. Next up, I have the Mars liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Spiced Brown. These liquid lipsticks are not the most pigmented, and it takes a little bit of time to build it up, but I feel like this is such a nice brown shade, like a little bit of a cool tone brown shade. I feel like this would look really nice on people of tan skin tones, especially if you have naturally pigmented lips and you wanted something that is a little brownish looking on your lips, or if you have a lot of like brown pigment on your lips and you want it to just look like my lips but better. I feel like this would be a really nice shade for that. Next up, I have this beautiful shade from NYX. This is in the shade Straps Off. A beautiful deep burgundy kind of a shade, which is really dark on my skin tone, but just imagine this on people of much deeper skin tones and it would look so beautiful, and it wouldn't like wash them out. It wouldn't look too muted and subtle. So I have seen a couple of swatches of this, and that's the reason I decided to include this. This is not a nude shade by any means for people of medium, light, fair skin tones. Don't even think about it. I'm talking about this in perspective of tan and deep skin tones. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Let me know what is your absolute favorite nude shade and your skin tone as well for reference in the comment section down below. Maybe we can do a part 2 of this some other time. And also let me know what other videos you'd like to watch down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and appreciate my efforts. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.